all right. Members of the culture. I am Ra and you are here. So, what are we here to talk about tonight? Well, actually, I got to be honest with you guys. This is something that's been burning in my craw, as they say, for quite some time. I want to have a talk about, with Todd McFarlane losing the license in about a year or so from now, with the DC multiverse and all that going on. This topic came up to me. And what I wanted to know was, in the case of certain lines, like we got the Turtles, for instance, right? Are you okay with exclusivity, like one particular manufacturer making one particular line, right? Are you okay with that? Like DC is like Warner Bros. Is being real tight, which some people are okay with being real tight with that property and saying, hey, we're gonna get one person to make figures. Now Todd may have something cooking, like we in a previous video where I discussed. He may have something cooking where he can kind of backdoor his way in through DC Direct or whatever. But I guess we'll see. But that's, like I said, that video is already up on the channel. You can check that out. But the point of today's video is exclusivity a bad thing? So I'm gonna list the pros and cons to it, and then I want you guys in the comments to let me know what you think on whether or not exclusivity is a good or a bad thing. I'll see the TNT Championship, man. It's such a beautiful belt, custom made for your boy, man. We'll talk about that in another video anyway. Let's not get off topic. I'm just being silly. Anyway, no, but that belt was custom made. Shout out to my man Asad Ali, great custom belts. He does good work. On to the topic, exclusivity. Now, in the case of exclusivity, I look at certain lines. I'm gonna use this as an example. Y'all know I'm a big Turtles fan. I love me some Turtles. We all know that, right? But in the case of having Turtles is one of the most bastardized lines. Unfortunately, it is because you had at one point you had the Loyal Subjects, Playmates, NECA, Super Seven. I'm trying to think of somebody else. It was like you had like five different manufacturers that were all making turtles, making turtle stuff. And it's like, they got their own take, and that's cool, their own artistic vision to spin on it. But at some point, doesn't enough get to be enough? Because you got all these people that's making stuff for these turtles, and some of the lines we like, some of them we don't. And if you ask people now, even in the comments, you can talk about it on what your personal favorite is. Me, I think it's NECA. Right behind NECA, believe it or not, I am a fan. I was a fan. I say that any company, the Loyal Subject is still around. But the Loyal Subjects Turtles, I've covered that on the channel too. That was like my second favorite pick. I think they did some great figures. But NECA to me right now, at least for me, that's just my opinion. I like NECA's figures. I like a lot of their figures anyway, but I like their figures when it comes to the Turtles. I think they do, without question, the most. Now, of course, they're getting the most out of those molds right now. Man, they're squeezing them out. Regular, all colors. They turning the turtles they done made them monsters. They turned them into gangsters. They doing everything, man, trying to get a buck, right? That 4-pack, I'm not hating on anybody that's got that 4-pack. You know the one I'm talking about is sitting over on my shelf over there. That 4-pack that came out like 2 years ago almost now, that was like 150 and the scalpers went crazy on it. Now it still goes for like $200 to this day. That was the Leishman and Laird 4-pack. It was comic accurate. They all had the red bandanas because they didn't really change bandanas until they got on television, so you could tell them apart. A lot of people don't know that. But in any case, NECA to me does the best job with the turtles, even though they tend to go overboard with, I guess you like I say you're trying to get the most out your money. But what else y'all gonna do to these turtles, man? Turn them into, school kids, and now they got like school kids, chefs, and monsters, and now they gangsters. I'm just like, good grief. You've done them in the regular color, you've done them in different colors, you've done them in black and white sketch, you've done them in red. Hey, now let me be honest with you. Love the last running line, period. That red, hey, y'all seen it on the channel. I'm a fan of that. But at the end of the day, is it a bad thing that so many manufacturers are making the lines? Some people are going to say yes. Some are going to say no. So it just depends. Me personally, I think that you can have too much of a good thing, depending on everything. You can have, they always say you can have too much of a good thing, no matter what it is, whether it's French fries or money. I don't know about, well, no, more money, more problems. But yeah, in a sense, you can always have too much of a good thing. And while I may not say it's okay for, I can see in cases where one person does something. I can also see cases where it's okay to have competition, because I feel like if you have, in a sense, like a monopoly, I'm not gonna call it that, but that's what it is. If you just got one manufacturer is making this particular intellectual property and nobody else makes it, what happens when we as the consumer feel that they're not putting out figures that we like? What can we do about it? We speak with our wallet, we just don't buy it. But if they got the license and nobody else has the chance to make something better, we have to sit here until that license expires. Maybe some people feel that way about McFarland Toys, as I'm saying right now. I don't, but maybe somebody else out here that's listening, maybe you do, right? That's why, like, to me personally, I wouldn't have a problem if both of them, if I'm speaking of Mattel, if Mattel and McFarlane both did the license, I don't have an issue. You got competition. Now the competition will be, and the way it is set up now, it's like we're comparing when Todd's done. We'll compare what Mattel does in the future to what Todd did in the past. So it is competition, but it's not, because now he's not making the figures anymore. So in a sense, however long the deal is, Mattel can make figures, and hopefully they give us stuff we want. But if they don't, if they give us figures we don't like, we vote with our wallet, we don't buy it. But then we just have to sit out whatever the contract is. If it's 2-3 years, and we don't like what they put out, then we just, I guess we don't do DC. We go do something else, right? But that's my point. I think competition is good. It's okay, I think, for maybe two people to do something. I ain't got no issue with that. But in the case of Turtles, yeah, too much is a good thing. When you got 5, 6 people putting their spin on something, like, that, to me, that can really dilute it, if you know what I mean. If you got too many people trying to do it, and one, it becomes expensive, right? Because we don't know what everybody's price point is on these figures. But if you got 6 different folks, like, this is our vision of the Turtles, or here's our vision of the Turtles, or here's our vision of the Turtles, what if they all similar price points? If everybody's saying, hey man, we want 30, like NECA, on the higher end, we want 36.99 a figure or whatever. If everybody's doing that, let's say that out of the 5 lines, 4 of them are bangers. They all producing good stuff. But man, that's expensive. You know what I mean? Like, so you can have too much of a good thing. So me personally, I'm not okay. I mean, I'm not okay, but I would favor 2 people being able to do something, 3 at the most. That's about it. Like, and like I said, I love the Turtles, but they bastardized it to death. I'd be okay with that. Like when it comes to Marvel Legends and those properties, Hasbro is tight-lipped. You don't see nobody else making them for the most part, and I think that's a good thing. And outside of like your Mayfex and stuff like that, making Marvel figures or whatever. But as a whole, with those characters, for us here, most of us are gonna do Marvel Legends because Mayfex and other ones. Shout out to them. Mayfex does great toys. So does CT Toys too. I mean, I ain't trying to get no feathers ruffled, but y'all know that Wolverine was hitting on something. But in the case of Mayfex, they make good figures, and those are obviously like everything else that come from overseas. But Mayfex figures, you're gonna pay the quality, but you're gonna pay for that stuff. That's gonna be, their figures could be 80, 90, $100. That's H Figuarts, good figures, but they're gonna be expensive. They're a little bit on the short side to me with a lot of their figures, but they make good stuff too, but they're gonna be expensive, right? So I don't have an issue in the case of Marvel. You got like 3 different people that'll produce figures or whatever. But when it comes to most of your Marvel figures, there are people that friends of mine, people I do talk to. They have Mayfex, but they're not strictly Mayfex for the most part. Those people do have Marvel Legends, and then they have some Mayfex. It's kind of a mix. I don't know anybody that just exclusively just does Mayfex or just exclusively does SH Figuarts. I know a lot of people that exclusively do Marvel Legends though, so it just depends, right? I don't have an issue, as I said. Competition is a good thing, and we've seen Marvel, Hasbro, they've been hit or miss. 2024, bang a year, put out some really good figures last year. This year, I'm not saying they're doing bad, but the output is not, to me, quite the same as it was in 24. I haven't seen as many bangers, and at this time, you're talking to a guy that personally, as you saw, has the Cyclops from the Build-A-Figure Nemesis wave. I'm an X-Men fan, the Cyclops nut, so I got that figure, and I think it's a good figure. You know, the review comes later this week, so be on the lookout for that. But I don't have an issue with that. I think it's a good figure, right? So I'm okay with that. You know, this year as far as Marvel Legends, they put out some good figures. The Nemesis itself, I heard, was good, but you know, your mileage may vary with that because it depends on who you're listening to at that time. And that's the wonderful thing about the hobby. Everybody got an opinion. We can all have our opinions about stuff. But yeah, to me, Marvel, they're not having a bad year, but I don't think it's not. I think they're going to heat up on the second half of the year when you start seeing those Sentinels dropping and other figures. Then yeah, the first half to me has been relatively kind of quiet, and then obviously we got Jean Grey about to drop. Jean Grey that does not have yellow boots for X Factor, despite the fact she has yellow boots on the package. I was just talking to somebody about that the other night. I was like, I don't know how Hasbro let that slip. But regardless of that, to my point, they're having a so-so year, and I think the second half you're gonna have some bangers, and overall they'll probably have a decent year. It's just been slow to me in the beginning. Whereas in the case of Todd McFarlane, he has been cooking because he's got a year left, so I think we're gonna get another 50, 60. My man Bones in the Necro Zoo, shout out to him. Predicts we're gonna, it could be 80 or 90 figures. The way Todd's going, at one point I didn't know if I felt that way. I don't know the exact date he loses the license. If it's like June or something like that, or July. But at the rate that man's going right now, yeah, Bones is probably right. We may see 80 or 90 figures because Todd is like, he is dropping them and has dropped some good figures. I can't lie and say that, right? So, but that's my whole point, man. I'm not against um I'm not against exclusivity, but I would like to see it open up a little bit more, like in the terms of DC. That's Warner Brothers property. They can do it however they want to do it. Let me be first and foremost. Let me say that I don't own it. It's however they want to do it. But if they want to say, hey, we just want to limit it to one person at a time for a length of time, then that's fine. They can do what they want. I personally think they would benefit from splitting it up and letting two people do it at one time, right? Because we don't know how Mattel is going to do with that. We don't. We hope they'll do okay, but they got kind of a shaky past with that, so we'll see. Some people don't like McFarlane and are ready for the change. Will Mattel shock us and do 7-inch figures? We don't know. There's so many unanswered questions to that. But my point is, it is okay to have more than one person, I think, making those particular figures and those characters. Because when everybody's vision is not the same, right? Like in the same case what I said with the Turtles, you got all those different lines and they don't look alike. Everybody's vision is different. And we got some good bangers from several different lines. And I think if Warner Brothers would do that and allow us with DC to get the most out of it, I think we really would. Everybody then could get different figures at different price points. Maybe one, let's just say, maybe Mattel doesn't give us a Captain Carrot or the Question or Our Man or whatever. Let's say they don't do those obscure characters. And let's say that, I'm just using McFarlane because he has a license. But in a world where they both do it, McFarlane is giving us those characters. Well, if Mattel never gives you those, you're like, man, this kind of sucks. See what I'm saying? So I think, to me, it's a good thing to open it up and not have exclusivity. That's just me. But what do you think? Let me know down in the comments below what you think. What's the best figure you've got? What's the best figure you've gotten in your collection that is from someone that doesn't have exclusivity? So my point, make it simple, that sometimes I overcomplicate things, and I apologize. In the case of like the Turtles, if you've got a Turtle figure, who gave you the best Turtle figure? If you've got a Marvel figure, which Marvel figure is it? Do you have something that was done by Hasbro, or do you have something like maybe it's a Mayfair? Maybe it's a Mayfair. Let me know in the comments down below who gave you your best figure. While you're down there, go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. You're going to be commenting anyway, right? So go ahead and like and subscribe. Help us fight the battle against YouTube's algorithm so we can get this message out here and spread this culture. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my man Clever's Universe. Shout out to Tony the Toy Rat. Shout out to Anthony's Customs. Shout out to Bones and the Necro Zoo. All these good channels is out here doing it. My man D Hunter out here handling all your DC multiverse questions along with Bones. Great channels to check out. I always plug the people that do the good stuff. I got to get their word out there too, man, because they helping me and I'm helping them. We're going to all spread the word and we all win. Remember, it's about different perspectives, right? Everybody bringing something different to the table. That means everybody eats. if that makes sense. I'm gonna let y'all keep that and let that roll around in your head, and after a while you'll get what I'm saying. If you didn't get it the first time, by the second time you'll get it. Anyway, I'm gonna let y'all get up out of here right now, man. On to the next video. But until we meet again, folks, please continue to stay collecting. Please continue to stay tuned, and above all, please continue to stay great. I'll holler at you.